Hi, it's Lucy here, and today I'm excited to create and share some cards I've created using the new collection from Uniquely Creative called Hello Darling. And this collection is absolutely beautiful and versatile. It's perfect for baby cards and other occasions, as you'll see from the cards I'm showcasing today. And this is just a quick peek at what's new this month, and just in case you're interested, you'll find links to the collection below. And I'm keeping it simple today by using only the papers from this collection to create these cards. It's just amazing what you can achieve with just paper, isn't it? And in a recent video, I asked if you'd be interested in a comparison between creating flat and dimensional cards, and the response was overwhelming, so thank you. So today I'm bringing that idea to life. Plus, I've got some bonus cards I made off camera as well, so stay tuned for plenty of inspiration today. Oh, and just a quick note, be sure to check out my previous video where I announced the winners of the $50 vouchers. Many have been claimed already, but I'm still waiting to hear from a few of you. And I also want to take a moment to say how amazing you all are. There was 76 comments on the winner announcement video, all congratulating the winners. And that just truly warmed my heart, and I wish I could give each and every one of you a voucher. And back to this paper collection, it's perfect for this video because there are so many elements that can be used to add dimension, and some of which you might not have considered before. So I fussy cut most of the pieces from a single sheet of paper, and you can actually purchase the papers individually. But if fussy cutting isn't your thing, you can always use ephemera for your 3D embellishments, and you might even have papers in your craft stash that would work beautifully for this technique. So first up, I've got a scalloped border that I've fussy cut, and I'm going to add some dimension by gently bending each scallop around my craft knife. And as you can see, I've prepared 2 of each item, and one set will stay flat. And to add dimension, I love using anything smooth and tubular to shape and manipulate my paper pieces. My go-to tool is a simple lollipop stick, which I picked up in a bulk pack at a $2 store a long time ago. But for larger pieces that need a wider bend, I also like using my craft knife or a pen. And I'll add this border to one of my cards that I'm creating today. For the banner, I'll use the lollipop stick since I need a smaller bend. And the banners are triangular, but I'll focus on bending them down the center to achieve a 3D effect. And for both the border and the banner, I'll add foam tape behind the dimensional parts to ensure they keep their shape. Next up are stars, which are ideal for adding dimension. Similar to the banner, even though the points are triangular, you can simply bend down the middle of each point to create a 3D effect. And this technique also raises the center of the star, so it makes it perfect for placing a foam dot just behind the center to keep it elevated. Bows are another fantastic item to add dimension to. I start by bending the paper to shape the centerpiece, then use my lollipop stick to gently curve the loops and ends, and this gives the bow a lovely 3D effect that really makes it stand out. You can also add a wavy effect to your sentiment strips, and you'll see why I've done this when I create one of the cards. And to achieve the waves, simply bend the ends upwards using a small skinny tool, then bend the middle section underneath the sentiment upwards with a larger tubular object, and this adds a fun dimensional twist to your sentiment. And a bottle is another simple image to add dimension to. Just round it out and suddenly it looks so much more realistic, doesn't it? And animals are a great choice for adding dimension. I like to mix up the sizes of my tools for different parts. For example, I'll use the craft knife to bend the main part of the bunny, but for his ears, I'll switch to the lollipop stick to give them their own individual dimension. And this helps each feature to stand out in a unique way. Adding dimension doesn't take long at all, but if you're using a craft knife like I am, just be very careful. It's definitely safer to use a pen of a similar size instead. I think I'm really living on the edge here. A cloud is another quick and easy element to bend. For this bunch of balloons, I want to cut between the balloon strings, and the best way I've found to do this is by carefully using my craft knife. I'll show you another method soon, which might be a bit easier for cutting into the central parts of an image. If you're not comfortable to do this, you can of course just leave the white pieces in. It won't notice too much, especially if you have a white background. And once each piece is cut out, I'll bend just around the outer edges of the balloons to create enough dimension, and then I can add foam adhesive behind the center to keep it elevated. Babies and people are also fantastic for adding dimension, and I'm really curious to hear what you think about the added dimension after you see the comparison cards. Sometimes flat cards are better, especially when it comes to posting, but personally I just love the look of dimensional cards. And that being said though, I'm also really happy with how the flat ones turned out today. When it comes to fussy cutting, you can decide how detailed you want to get. These two images are exactly the same, but for one, I kept the delicate details like the leafy vines and simply removed them from the other version. And those delicate vines really add a bit of extra flair to the card, but it's all about deciding whether it's worth the effort. If you love fussy cutting, you might want to carefully trim around them, but if it's not your thing, you can always skip the tricky bits. No one will notice that it's missing some leaves. Just look at the second version, you can't even tell. Clothes are fantastic for adding dimension. This jumpsuit is a great example. It's super simple, just bend it around a pen or craft knife to give it that 3D effect. And here's another way to cut out the negative pieces inside an image. Simply cut through the image to access the area that you need, then use your fussy cutting scissors to trim it out. And don't worry about cutting the image, it's easy to glue it back into place when you're adding it to your card. I'm slicing out the pieces on this hot air balloon, but I should have kept the flat one with the white pieces in to see if it was worth the effort. I've already created the flat version off screen of this card, and now I'm going to make the dimensional one. And this is all I need to create this card, and I think it turned out quite lovely, hasn't it? Now let's see how it'll look with a bit of added dimension. A trick I love to use when adding a piece of paper to my card front is to leave the backing of the double-sided tape on the left side. This way I can line the paper up with the fold of the card on the left without it sticking yet. And once I have it perfectly aligned, I apply pressure on the other side of the card to secure the paper. Then I can peel off the backing from the left side to finish off the job. I've die cut a part of the rectangle from both scrap card and designer paper, and this adds a little extra height to the bottom of the card, and die cutting the scrap piece to the same size ensures an even elevation. You don't have to use dies at all for the cards I'm creating today. I just love the stitch detail that my rectangle dies add. I've added foam hexagons to each scallop here, and as you know, I love to use glue too. It gives me the flexibility to maneuver things around, and it also ensures the pieces stay in place with double the strength for a permanent hold. I'll use a heavy acrylic block to let the glue dry, and even though my scalloped border looks a little crooked here, it won't be noticeable on the finished card. And for the hot air balloon, I need a pretty large bend, so I'll use my bottle of glossy accents to help with that. And once it's bent, I can add foam adhesive to the center of the hot air balloon to keep it dimensional. And a helpful tip when using a large embellishment like this balloon is to always add it off center. If we placed the balloon right in the middle of the card and trimmed off the overhanging edges, it could look like it's just too big for the card. But by positioning it this way, it feels intentional, like it's meant to be that size. And afterwards, we can trim off the excess pieces without worry. Think about how when you see a landscape painting on a wall, your brain automatically continues the scene beyond the frame, even though you can't see it. It's a similar effect that makes that work. I'll add small foam pieces wherever necessary once the item is attached to the card. I'm going to add a larger basket with foam dots and glue. I'll also add the wavy sentiment strip using foam adhesive and glue. The waves in the sentiment make it feel like it's gently blowing in the wind, adding a nice touch of movement to the design, I think. I'll add the dimensional star first, followed by the banner, so it looks like it's floating alongside the balloon. And one extra element I'm adding to this card that I didn't add to the other is a flower cluster. It gives even more dimension on top of the elevated balloon. And when creating a layered card, it's always lovely to include more than just one extra layer. It really adds depth and interest to the design. I'll add the sentiment with foam adhesives. Nothing on this card is flat except the checkered background paper. And after trimming off the overhanging bits, we'll take a look at both cards side by side. What do you think? Do you have a preference for one over the other? It's great to know you can create the same card design in both flat and dimensional styles, isn't it? Especially when you need to post a card, the flat version still looks amazing too, would you agree? Next, I'm going to share a few bonus cards I've created using this paper collection, and then I have 2 more comparison card designs to show you. And here's the first card I made as part of being on the design team at Uniquely Creative. I absolutely love being on their team. Every kit they release is just stunning, made with amazing quality, and it's so much fun to work with. I know many of you are big fans of Uniquely Creative too. They also have a Facebook group, and I believe they're hosting a giveaway to celebrate reaching 10,000 subscribers. And if you'd like to enter for a chance to win a card making kit, I'll include the link to their Facebook group below. I think there are 20 kits up for grabs. How exciting! Oh, and I should mention, while I'm using the 12 by 12 paper packs, they do also offer 6 by 6 paper packs for each collection as well. What do you think of this kit? I'm loving the colour combination and the adorable animals and the gorgeous flowers. They all work so well together and make it super easy to create beautiful cards, and for any occasion, not just baby cards. My next comparison card is an engagement one, so let's take a look at that. And here's the flat version of the card. It's pretty, but I think we can take it up a notch. Adding extra layers of flowers really enhances the overall look. And I actually made this card for my brother-in-law's engagement over the weekend, and the added dimension made it feel extra special. I'm using the same piece of background paper, and since there are 2 of each design in the packs, it's easy to duplicate a card. I'll be die cutting the rectangle for my card front again, but remember you can also just cut a piece of paper to fit your card. My card bases are 14.8 by 10.5 centimeters, which is about 5 7/8 of an inch by 4 1/8 of an inch. The stitched rectangle dies I'm using are also from Uniquely Creative, but if you're using US sized cards, I'll include a link to some rectangle dies that will fit your card fronts perfectly. These dies make my life so much easier, especially since I don't use a trimmer often. Plus I love how the edges look more polished with a die compared to cutting with a knife or a trimmer. I've just triple layered the gold sentiment, adding 2 white card layers underneath for extra dimension. And then when it comes to leaves, you can bend them in different directions, even on the same card. For these ones, I'll bend the spine of the leaf back and then gently curl the outer parts of the leaf under. I can then glue just the spine onto the card. Another way to bend the leaves is by making the spine the highest point of the dimension. This gives a nice lift to the leaf. You can also try bending the leaves from the tip down as well, or play around to see what works best for your design. I'll be adding all the flowers with some form of foam adhesive, and any extra leafy bits that would be hidden under other elements I'll cut off and I'll use elsewhere on the card where they will be visible. Sometimes when curling leaves and flowers, you might need to separate them to give each one an individual bend. I just cut between them, which creates space to bend each leaf or petal separately for a more natural look. I'll trim off any overhanging pieces again, and then I can add all the little extra delicate elements where I think they're needed. I know some of you may not want to bother with this bit as it can be a bit fiddly, but I think those delicate touches, they really add that extra flair to the card. I'll add the sentiment and then we can compare these 2 variations. And what do you think? Do you prefer creating cards with fewer elements, or are you happy to add those extra layers? I'd love to know your preferences when it comes to card making. Please let me know in the comments section. Overall, it's a really pretty card design though, isn't it? I've got one more comparison card to share, and it's a fairly simple one to recreate, so I didn't make it on camera. Isn't it cute? Can you spot which one has the added dimension? I personally love the little animals having a bit of roundness to them, so I'm definitely leaning towards the dimensional version, though the flat one still looks sweet too. What do you think? So let's take a look at all 10 cards created with this gorgeous paper collection. Overall, did you find this video helpful? I hope some of the tips and tricks I shared will come in handy for you. Maybe you'll be inspired to go through your stash and find papers you can use, or if you love these papers, be sure to check out the store and product links in the description box below. I'll have all the details there, and I do earn a small commission on any sales made through my links, so thank you so much if you decide to shop through them. It really helps support my channel so I can continue creating card making videos. If you're unsure how to open up the description box, here's an example on screen now. Just click the word more and all the information for this video will come up. And please give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and I love reading your comments. Let me know if you have a favorite card or technique. And here's the info on Uniquely Creative's Facebook giveaway. That's all I know. I'm not sure when they'll be picking the winners. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed spending this time with me. If you'd like to watch another one of my Uniquely Creative videos, here's one you might like. That's it for this video though. Have a wonderful day, happy crafting, and bye for now.